All right. Well, welcome to the Dr. G Show. Starting easy because we're doing thyroid today.
Relaxing.
So, relaxing.
Kinda. I mean, this music's kinda.
This is pretty chill. Compared to rap music.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
All right. Welcome to the Dr. G Show. This is episode 180, which seems insane. Thank you guys for joining us. We're going to talk about thyroid again. So this month our focus is on thyroid. Last week we had some technical difficulties. Hey Diva.
Hello.
So last time we had some technical difficulties, and the week before we were talking about thyroid in general and really kind of how do we exhaust our thyroid, which is truly the key of how we're going to fix this. Hey Diana and Nathan.
All right.
And this is, we talked about the statistics last time, and it's like 1 in I think 10, but it's probably way more than that. And one of the research articles I looked at in prep for this, it really basically says like, here's your diagnosis, and then here is the duration of where it's out of or kind of dysfunctional, and then it takes all the way to here before you actually notice the problem. So like you can have this wearing away of your tire, and then eventually some threads will show, and then eventually it'll blow out. But it's like, why did it just blow out? Well, there's this whole long period before it blew out, right? So, and special guest also, of course, is Suzanne.
Hi, everybody.
Yep. So,
I'm working on Facebook right now.
Okay.
You're right with you.
She's our technical expert here.
Right.
So one of the things that we want to talk about today is Hashimoto's. So there's hypothyroid, which is just kind of like, if you exhausted your thyroid, it's low performing, your get up and go is gone, your pep's gone, sexuality's gone, energy's gone, you gain a bunch of weight, lose your hair, those kind of things, America. So there's the other part of hypothyroid that's autoimmune thyroiditis, right? So these are antibodies like thyroglobulin antibody and thyroid peroxidase antibodies. Those are, and then you have a receptor one. But those are your most common autoimmune versions of this. Now, if you've been following the Dr. G Show for long enough, you kind of know that I say the same thing for, if you want to reverse autoimmune, it's T cell dysregulation and secondary molecular mimicry. So, our offices have like this really great track record at reversing autoimmune conditions, and including Hashimoto's. So we'll have about 4 cases that we'll kind of talk about as we go through this, where we had some really high numbers, and then how we made better sense of those numbers and got people their life back. And really, kind of the medical model of this for most people is, and there's Leah. Is basically we live a lifestyle that's incompatible with life longevity.
That's right.
We end up with lots of anxiety, lots of depression, and there's a price we pay for that long cortisol exhaustion, and it'll finally plummet, right? It's all jacked up, and then we crash. Thyroid picks up, and it tries to do the job of cortisol. We didn't change our lifestyle, and it eventually crashes. Up here, it's hyperthyroid. Down here, it's hypothyroid. So when you kind of finally feel like my tire's blown out, like, okay, I can't deal with this anymore, then people end up going to the doctor. They get a little lab test done, and then they go, oh my God, your thyroid's really low. Oh, actually, they don't test your actual thyroid. They'll just test your brain to your thyroid, which is TSH, and then they'll assume it's low. We'll say that.
Right. And then they'll have another test for you.
Yeah. And then you end up on medication. And so what they do is they say your thyroid's low, so let's just give you synthetic T4 thyroid, right? Even though your body runs off of free T3, we'll just give you T4 and assume that's doing its job.
And so what is T4?
So
is that like normal? Is that normal in our system or not? You're saying synthetic, but...
Right, so Synthroid is synthetic, Armor's real, Westroid's real. So there's real options. But with thyroid, you have your brain, your pituitary,
Right.
sends a hormone called thyroid stimulating hormone to the thyroid, which is in your neck. So thyroid
Which we showed
stimulating
a couple
here.
of weeks ago.
Yeah. And if that number is really high, your brain is yelling at your thyroid because it's not making enough, so theoretically it's low, right? If that thyroid stimulating hormone is very, very low from the brain to the thyroid, then basically your thyroid's whispering like, dude, you're making too much, you need to chill out. So they kind of guess based on that, what is the brain telling the thyroid number? But your thyroid actually makes three major hormones. Reverse T3 that does nothing, T3, and T4.
Okay.
So T4, thyroid is like a tyrosine amino acid. And if it has 3 iodines, it's called T3. If it has 4 iodine, it's called
T4.
Damn, that's what I'm talking about.
I
Right?
learned something right this minute.
Yeah. So
Thanks.
when I used to teach this 36-hour postdoctoral program on endocrinology, functional approaches to endocrinology, and I love thyroid because it's so freaking simple. It really
And
is.
it's so important.
Yeah.
Like
it's
100 times important.
It's everything.
It's everything.
So T4, the tyrosine with 4 iodines on there, that's the one that they give you the synthetic form of, called Synthroid or levothyroxine. But what they don't really tell you, and some of them probably forgot, is that 90% of your T4 converts to T3. So it doesn't matter how much T4 you have, is it actually converting to T3? And then this is the really kind of interesting part. I think we talked about this last time, but 99.6% of your T3 binds to thyroglobulin, and it's useless. Which means the only amount out of that whole clinical picture of physiology is 0.4% of that total T3 is still free and bioactive. That's the one that affects everything in the body. So your libido, your energy, your mood, your vibrance, your cells turning over, your hair, nails, skin, everything. It runs off just 0.4% of that whole picture. And that's where like most labs kind of screw up because they just assume like, oh, I drove by your house, the lights were
That's
on,
right.
obviously you were home. Well, no, that's not true. Well, I knocked on the door and I heard the TV, so obviously you're home. But what we want to do when we do lab tests is just go in the house and see if you're there, right? Like do the actual lab test, which is dirt cheap, to know what the actual free T3 is. Like that's
Which
the craziest
isn't,
thing.
It doesn't sound like it's very much.
No, it's like $20.
Oh my gosh.
It's like nothing. So,
No, well, I mean, so, but that's not what it costs when you go to the doctor.
oh no, we get discounts. We pass those to the patient. Yeah, it may be way more there. But
No, and I mean also like at what you said, 1.4?
just
0.4.
0.4.
That doesn't
0.4.
sound like very much, but it's so important.
Right. Yeah.
That's amazing to me. Okay.
It's kind of like love. Just a little bit
Just a
can
little
change
bit goes
everything.
a long way.
That's right.
Oh, that's true.
So, medication-wise, the problem with addressing this as a medication solution is that if you give the body hormones or neurotransmitters, you downregulate your own production of those. So everything except for birth and a baby and clot and blood works off the negative feedback loop. And that means that if your receptor says, hey, we're not making enough, it tells a gland to make more, releasing hormones, inhibiting hormones, right? Make more, and it'll overproduce, and then the receptor says, whoa, gland, you made too much. So the gland says, fine, I'll make too little, so we inhibit. So release, inhibit, and within a normal balance. And so, no, not a part of that.
Not
Not
yet.
there yet.
Okay. Trying to keep up.
So that's how your blood sugar works. That's how your serotonin works. Your melatonin. That's how every system in the body works, except for clot and blood and birth and baby, because those have end stages, right? You're done, right? So that means if you take a medication that mimics a hormone, whether it's bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, synthetic, thyroid, Armour thyroid, even SSRIs or Wellbutrin, any of those. If you trick the body to making it think it has more, then your receptors say make less. And then you finally get tested again and you don't feel as well, so then they raise the dose. And then you don't feel as well, and then they raise the dose. And then you don't feel as well, and they raise the dose. And then eventually they'll get you on this standard dose. And you're like, okay, they finally balanced out my dose. Like, I think this doc's really good. But you are now operating solely on external supply of hormones. Which means life goes like this, and your hormone drug goes like that. So if you have a predictable half-life by which that drug's excreted, then you don't have extra ways to compensate. Then people end up with things like depression. They're like, I don't understand why I can't function anymore. And so they're like, not a problem. We'll just put you on antidepressants. We'll then trick the brain into thinking it's making more serotonin, so then it makes less serotonin. And 70% of people get worse, and then they eventually just like, I don't know what to tell you. And it's a mess.
It just snowballs.
Yep.
So you're going to end up taking one thing for another thing. You know, have you ever gone into someone's house? Okay, so I'm going to use
when they're not there.
When they're
no.
not there. So when my dad was really sick, I would go there, and I can't even tell you how many pills he had to take, even though he couldn't hardly swallow them. I mean, it was just like, he's got to take this, he's got to take. I mean, he probably had 12 pills or more.
And that's pretty common.
And that's just in the pill form.
Yeah.
You know, so it just one thing just causes another thing and causes another thing until eventually our bodies are just confused.
Yeah.
Completely. And that means that our minds are confused and everything that goes along with that.
Yeah, and it's sad because
it is sad.
Thyroid, I mean, it will make or break you. Like, I mean, at least if you have hyperthyroid, yeah, you got headaches, yeah, your blood pressure's ready to blow up, but you feel invincible. But hypothyroid, it is like your whole world disintegrates in front of you, and you can't be a human anymore. Yeah. You can't be a wife or a husband. You can't be a parent. You can't be an employee. You're just like slowly withering and dying. And honestly, it's kind of out of the process of survival of the fittest, which basically, so when we talk about T4 converting to T3, prolonged cortisol is what prevents that T4 from converting to T3. So short-term stress, that's fine, but long-term stress is not what the human body's made for. We're one of the few species that doesn't have a gene turn on to make vitamin C in reaction to stress. We make sugar, which then suppresses our immune system, which leads to the autoimmune part. So survival of the fittest says, man, if you can't pull your crap together, if you can't find a life worth living, if you think you can do everything, you can't. And eventually you're going to pay the price with your thyroid. And that's where most people are these days. It's unsustainable. It's like going on a shopping spree every time you get stressed, and eventually you're broke. So when people are hypothyroid, you kind of look at what they're doing with their life, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of what should happen.
So how many of you out there actually feel like there are some thyroid issues in your life?
Yeah.
There's lots of symptoms, and there's lots of reasons why there might be a thyroid issue too. And I think we've talked about, a couple weeks ago, we talked about some of those, and we're going to talk about them again.
Yeah. And those symptoms
everywhere.
Like we said,
everywhere.
I mean, it'll go on. Like, I'll show you the picture.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about the picture.
So this is balanced thyroid. This is hyperthyroid, too high. Hypo, too low, right? So this is asymptomatic all the way to about here. Is that right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is subclinical. So basically from here to here is subclinical. Like, it has a long time before, like, the tire blows out, before it finally just, you can't cope anymore. During that time, that's where we do lots of sugar and distraction and wheat and dairy's morphine, nicotine, vaping, whatever it is. Anything you're doing to cope, that's what people are doing during this long, slow process of exhaustion. And then it's only that last little bit where suddenly everything falls off and life is just, I gotta go to the doctor, I can't do this anymore. Like, you can no longer cope through it. So that's where, I mean, people getting on top of this long before it becomes too critical is so vital and so important for people.
So, you know, and it's part of the autoimmune system too, which is, you know, really important for us where we're at right now.
Right, I know.
So, how does the thyroid and the autoimmune system work together?
Right, so Dr. Hashimoto's, Dr. Hashimoto, he is the first one that came up really with the idea of autoimmune low thyroid costs, right? So there's thyroid peroxidase is the way that we get iodine from our blood into the cells. Now, most people are going to have a little bit of problem with iodine just for the fact that iodine comes from the ocean.
Right.
And we don't eat real sea salt or plants from the ocean or fish from the ocean. So we didn't dramatically decrease our iodine input for our brain, breast tissue, thyroid, everything else anyways. But thyroid peroxidase brings iodine into the actual thyroid cells, so then you can bind those to the tyrosine and make T3, T4. But if you have an immune antigen against that, then, or an antibody, now we attack that thyroid peroxidase, and that can't get it inside the cell. So it's kind of like there's a doorman or a FedEx man trying to put stuff in, and then now there's this bum that's attacking him all the time, so he can't get the iodine in.
Can't get to it, yeah. Right.
So that's one. So then that slows down that whole process, and your life grinds to a halt with that. The other one is thyroglobulin antibody, and that one is one that we typically see less issue with because it's in product kind of issues. So that's the one that binds the actual T3. So you'll see those numbers go really high, but often we won't. We can get people clinically to where they feel fantastic and still have that number kind of fluctuating, even in the 200 or 300s, or a couple of patients even higher. And the other thing on those numbers is I used to teach a laboratory interpretation seminar to docs years ago, but most people don't know that, you know, TPO antibodies, thyroglobulin antibodies aren't even precisely from the thyroid issues. So those numbers can be elevated without, kind of like you can have corona tests, like a COVID test that goes positive because you had a flu virus. Because the flu virus kind of looks like that, so when they do the antigen test, it can be positive for COVID without COVID, right? So there's several different viruses that will do that, and kind of creates a cross-reactive test. So with Hashimoto's, it's really important to kind of look at really what the clinical picture is greater than what those labs are, right? So we want to know what they are, because a lot of times we can get those labs reversed back to normal, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
And the faster you come in for hypothyroid problems with those autoimmune components, the faster we can see those resolve. Whereas if it gets to 900, 2,000, even like 450, somewhere in there, it's a slow process, and you'll see it kind of wax and wane. But again, if your symptoms are great, and you feel amazing, you can poop and pee and sleep and have enough energy and your brain's clear, then kind of what does it matter at that point, right? Kind of like people with liver enzymes will be elevated. It's not just liver for AST, ALT. So a lot of times we kind of base everything on that, but they also are made in other places of the body. So the first thing is kind of like this minute you start feeling any of these kind of symptoms and you suspect there's any hypothyroid going on, like you're gaining a little bit of weight, you're getting a little tired, you can't function as well, then we get those things tested, and then we see, is there an autoimmune component? Is this Hashimoto's, or is it just hypothyroid? Is it just lifestyle changes we need to make, or do we need to look at T-cell dysregulation and molecular mimicry to try to get that fixed?
Food, lifestyle, all kinds of different things.
Yeah, and so we'll talk. So this will be. So that being said, one of the things that we always say is what causes these things, right?
That's right.
So we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
So there was this study from the European Journal of Endocrinology, and I like this. It's called Natural History of the Transition from euthyroid or normal to overt autoimmune hypo and hyperthyroidism, right? So this is basically what we want to see. This
That's
is
a
that.
lot.
I know it's.
God, that's a lot. Well, I mean, because it makes sense because you know you can, right? You can go back and forth.
Yeah.
From hypo to hyper, that right?
Well, not so much. No.
No. Okay. Well.
You can't. You usually go hyper and then hypo,
drop. Okay.
right? So some people will just go hypo. Some will go up and then crash. But some of the autoimmune components will upregulate it to Graves' disease, which we'll talk about next week. Some of those autoimmunes interfere with the production, and then it ends up causing hypothyroid. So hyperthyroid irritates to produce more. Hypothyroid is autoimmune that blocks the production, interferes with the production, so it's low.
Gotcha.
But hyperfunction becomes hypofunction after a while, and that's a different model.
Okay.
That's
you've already done that.
So when we look at genetics, so I have the opportunity that we're going to start working with the Genomic Wellness Group, and it's all a bunch of specialists that reverse very specific conditions with different practitioners, and collaborating with their office and kind of helping them with that. But so we looked at, so what I want to do with the thyroid part is kind of even look at the genetics of this. And, you know, the immune genetics are pretty simple. There's 4 main ones. So we can look, actually, if you do your 23andMe or one of those health genetic panels, there's 20 to 25,000 genes that are tested. I had almost 25,000 genes. I don't want to brag because that's a lot. But from those genes, we can look at precursors for, or predispositions for things like autoimmune thyroid, right? And hyperthyroid, hypothyroid, they have a few different markers in there. And whether it's immunological or whether it's direct thyroid, those have different markers. But based on that, we can have a greater understanding of why you have it, and then maybe doing some epigenetic protocols for that too, which is very unique and different from what everybody else does.
Yes.
So the genes we're looking for immune is the basic HLD-DR, CD40, CLTA4, PTPN22. Not the 21. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's 21. No, it's the PTPN22, right?
Okay.
So out of those 25,000 genes, there's those 4 that are really unique that we want to look at. And so when you do a genetic test, we can actually download that raw data, put it through a different physician interpretation software, because they don't like patients knowing too much with that stuff. They freak out. But from there, we can look at all those 25,000 genes and then which ones are related to you specifically for predisposition for this. And then what we want to do about it, even like how much an effect that is from mom's side or dad's side or both sides.
Well, what's so unique about what we do here is so different than what you might find when you visit your family practice doctor or whatever, because typically they just want to know, is it high or is it low?
Yeah.
And so then we're going to fix that. We're going to try to give you something that will adjust that to what we think it should be, or where. So they don't really even know the statistic or the range of
oh yeah,
so
because it's like, oh, wait until your tire blows out, and then we'll put you on the med.
Exactly. And that's it. You don't get any like range. They don't tell you, well, you're not that low, but we would need to get on this right now, and we need to do lifestyle changes, and we need to do different things to help you with that. And so
you're right.
It's very unique what we do here.
Yeah, and when you look at what we do, or let's say, okay, so let's even just go to the genetics.
Yeah.
So with that research article, they had some, I think, 4 genetic risk factors that mutate those genes. So all this stuff is what's called polymorphism, right? Single nucleotide polymorphism, SNPs. And there's very specific things that we do to mutate those genes. And again, like we said, if you don't live a lifestyle that's compatible life, eventually your genes, the good ones will turn off, the bad ones turn on, and then you're screwed. So you want to switch it up. Your body's constantly turning on and off these genes based on kind of what we want to see with the body. So if you're not living a lifestyle that's compatible, it says, well, you should wither away and just kind of die. You should be producing babies and having fun, and you should just kind of fall apart. You shouldn't be happy.
Energy.
So when we look at those gene mutators, there's 5 of them. The 5 major ones. So we'll talk about estradiol. Estradiol is a big one. You make 3 estrogens.
3.
2 estrone. Estrone are like plant estrogens, like phytosterols, like flaxseed and fruits and vegetables and soy, right? Organic soy. All those things protect you from the E2, the second estrogen called estradiol. Estradiol is the one that makes you go through puberty. It's the growth one. For men, that's man, boobs, and prostate, and autoimmune. For women, that's autoimmune, breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, endometriosis, fibroids, all that stuff, right? But 90% of all autoimmune disease are female, because females are the ones that take estradiol synthetically as birth control, synthetic as hormone replacement therapy, and then chemically as things like perfumes and
fragrances, perfumes, mineral oils, things that and probably deodorant.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yes. Anything that has an artificial smell. Has
any fragrance.
Has phthalate in there, which is horribly estrogenic, but it has artificial perfumes and fragrances which are horribly estrogenic. They're what's called xenoestrogens.
Yep.
And so when you start to look and realize what this list is, you know, usually it's stuff like, well, obesity and smoking. It's just like, that's not such a big deal. But when you look at the estradiol, the synthetic or xenoestrogens, it's pesticides, it's herbicides, it's cologne, it's perfume, it's lotion, it's makeup. Eventually, it's the clothes that you wear. Like people that wear benzene-derived like polyesters, that is estrogenic.
And think about when the polyester was in such a big time in our lives in the 70s.
Well, no, it's still like Under Armour.
60s and 70s. Oh,
Under Armour.
Under Armour has it too.
Well, all that athletic clothing that's plastic, it's all synthetics. That's why I only wear cotton. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, but you're good at doing laundry.
I love laundry.
People that do cotton, I have a hard time keeping it from getting wrinkled because I'll leave it in the dryer forever.
Oh, I'm like,
and then it never comes out.
I'm like right at the dryer. And I got these. I got this Panasonic washer and dryer. So it makes a little like jingle when it's done. It's like
nice.
And so it's not this like this, right? So it's like happy. So I'm over there just putting my stuff in the dryer, and then when the dryer goes off, like I pull everything straight from the dryer and just hang it up right there.
I lay everything flat because it's still hot and it's like a little iron. Not good. Iron it out.
And then
I didn't know that. I had no idea that was in clothing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well,
thanks,
and
Dr.
then it
Garrett.
gets worse.
Oh.
Because you have the estrogenic component of the benzene-derived plastic that makes the clothing, that's non-cotton, but because it's from petroleum, especially from the flammable part of petroleum called benzene, those clothes burn up pretty quickly. So we spray it with flame retardant, and flame retardant is horribly estrogenic and cancer-causing, and it disrupts the thyroid.
Wow.
America.
You know, sometimes, this is so informative. How would we ever know, right, if we didn't have you? That's amazing.
Oh, you're so sweet.
You're awesome. Honestly. This isn't stuff that's like widely available, now that we have internet from
Well, no, it's still not, because it's
you still
confusing.
have a hard time finding out this information.
Right. Holy crap.
But even like, okay, so...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I'm drinking. You go ahead.
So basically, I'm like this big, naturalist, but I know I have a ton of things that I still need to discard. But one of the things that I was really proud of myself is that I would get the BPA-free containers or the BPA whatever. I'm not even sure that I want to use glass containers. If I don't consume it, I think I'm just going to go ahead and
no glass.
Glass is okay, but still. So, doesn't it? It still has to have stuff in it.
No. So plastic.
But the BPA free, y'all, I was like, oh, I'm doing really good. I'm not doing anything BPA.
Right.
But there's still
I know.
stuff in the BPA free.
So if it's
Plastics.
then it's petroleum.
Yes.
So plastic 1, which is your average kind of water bottles that you get water at the store in, those are soft ones. Those are typically plastic number 1, which is polyethylene triethylene, PETE. Those are estrogenic, those are toxic, but again, they're the lesser of that. But the harder plastic ones, which are the bottles that you carry around that you refill, those are the BPA ones. Those are plastic number 7. So anything with this 3, 6, 7 are the most estrogenic of the estrogenics, right? The other ones aren't good, but you're only going to do, you want to go from this much bad to this much bad, right? That's the key.
As much as you can.
You're not going to get perfect. So don't feel like you're going to freak out, like, oh my God, I'm living in a toxic environment, I'm going to die. Your body's meant to fix all this stuff. Your DNA repairs at the rate of 10,000 times per cell per day, but it's based on basic things like fruits and vegetables and water, and then you want to reduce its effort by knocking down that toxicity. So true BPA free is glass.
Okay.
So
there
this, like this mug, did you make this?
Actually, someone's dad made those
Oh.
a long time ago.
So this is clay,
Yes.
and then it has the glaze on the inside, right?
Yeah.
So then it's heated. So this is porcelain. This is fine, right?
Okay.
Your teacup is porcelain, and then it's coated, and then it's baked, and then it's fine. So
Okay.
these
As long as
theoretically
it's baked.
are fine, right? But if you get and if you get those water bottles from like Target or Amazon, and they have the silicone rubber thing on the outside, that's perfect, right? Those are perfect.
Really?
You can take those around. You can go to places and get your water, and it's fine.
And you can find those at the natural food stores too. I mean, Target carries them.
Oh, yeah.
But they're like $30.
Well, that's why you get them
They're
on
very-
Amazon or Target.
Right.
It's cheaper.
Gets
At
you
the health
cheaper.
food store, they're the most expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, that way it's never toxic, and you can carry that around your car. Sheryl Crow, if you guys remember her, something about.
She did. She used to drink all she used water in plastic, and she decided that she was going to quit because she got breast cancer.
Yeah.
And it was one of the number 1 causes
Yeah.
of those
So
plastic water bottles.
Yeah. So she, you know, they sit and they bake. They're in the truck baking, and it bakes all that estrogen in there, and it'll mess up your thyroid, but it'll cause all kinds of estrogen cancers too.
Okay, so the question was, does that include the IUD? Yes, some of them, you probably know better than I do, but some of the IUDs have copper and...
No, copper's okay.
Well, I mean, they're
But
made with different products.
But they're estrogen, yeah. So usually
Yeah,
they're
so
high
some of them
estrogen.
have estrogen. The whole idea of having an IUD is to disrupt the activity, the normal activity, which to me doesn't sound right. I mean, you know, because you don't want to really disrupt the activity, the normal function of what's going on. But what do? You know?
Well, and you know, that's the thing with like synthetic birth control, even IUD, that estradiol that's going to mess up your thyroid, it increases your risk of having a heart attack and stroke in a 16-year-old. Like that means you can die in the prime of your life.
You know, I'll be very open here. I had one for a long time, and I've had
IUD?
I've had issues related probably to that.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, you know, the Women's Health Initiative in 2005, it was shut down because the scientists said it was unethical to document what was going on to these women using synthetic estradiol. And it was because it increased the risk of heart disease up to 87% in the first year, but cancers by 30%. And then, I don't know if you guys know this, but 90% of all autoimmune disease are women, not men.
90%, y'all.
90%.
And
High
so why
amounts.
is that? I mean,
Well,
because...
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, why is that, doctor?
So
Explain.
there's I think it's called I factor or maybe F factor or something. It's been years since I lectured on this.
Yeah.
But high amounts of estradiol actually suppresses your immune system's ability to suppress after an infection. So the immune system gets jacked up, and then it goes back down. Gets jacked up, goes down, right? But this prevents it. That high estradiol, and that's again perfumes, underarm deodorant, all the perfumes and soap, those artificial candles, all the sprays, stuff in your hair, even like PPD, permanent hair dye. So last year they came out and they said that was increased breast cancer in white women by 10%. Or 10% of all breast cancers in white women were due to hair dye. But for black women, 50% were due to their hair product. That's how estrogenic that PPD chemical is. And so that's going to mess up people's thyroids. Isn't that nice? Oh, you know what? We didn't say perchlorate. Perchlorate does that too. And a lot of perchlorate's in jet fuel, but that's in actually some cities' tap water now. And there's
I wouldn't doubt it because we throw so much stuff in the trash. I mean, seepage everywhere. It's got to seep into everything.
Yeah, and dry cleaning, they use perchlorates, and then you wear that dry cleaning, and it absorbs into your skin, and then it kills your thyroid. So
even the places that have natural.
Do you know of such a place? You do. I know you do.
Uh-huh.
So plug that, because that's a good one, because I think they don't do any of the perchlorates.
I have to think of the name of it.
It's green ICT or
it's,
something.
It's ICT cleaners.
Green cleaners?
Yeah, it's ICT cleaners. But they do green.
So that's
do green cleaning.
So that then
and they don't
decreases.
Yeah, and so and a lot of the cleaners they reuse all that stuff. So gross.
Yeah, and then there's a cleaner, dry cleaner from the 1990s that went out of business, and their tank is underground and it's been leaking, and
That's right.
it's been leaking into Hayesville and Derby, into their city water. Since 1990 or something.
Yes.
And the EPA says that there's like 300 cleanup sites in Kansas alone that they just can't afford to clean up, so they just let it go, and then people have all these thyroid problems. So that's where like reverse osmosis comes in with that too,
So we're really, we're just going to be constantly working on keeping our thyroid healthy.
Right.
Because there's just so much. And it could be lots of different things. We just have to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
I mean,
what are some of the others?
Well, styrofoam.
Yeah, so styrofoam, horribly estrogenic, mutates those genetic factors that then lead to things like autoimmune conditions.
Parabens, petrojelly.
Parabens are in makeup and
Benzene.
lotions, but they're putting parabens in wheat tortillas at Walmart and Dillon's. Parabens.
Oh, and why would they do that?
Because they will
it last
never,
longer.
ever go bad. If you make tortillas, they will go bad in 3 days, right? But you can get white tortillas at Walmart or Dillon's, and they will never go bad. You can get, and those have benzene in there, which is estrogenic.
I gotta get mine to see what's in.
Oh, she's gonna get her. Okay, there we
And
go.
I
See.
don't usually buy them.
But the wheat ones, so I get mine at the health food store because I make all those gourmet tacos and stuff. And so, like, I get the organic ones at the health food store that only have 3 ingredients.
Okay.
Oh, snap. So,
Oh, snap. Okay. And so, by the way, just because you mentioned that you make tacos, Dr. Garrett has a cookbook. It's on...
yeah.
It's online.
It's on Amazon.com.
Amazon.com.
Cooking After Dark with Dr. G. Gourmet Taco Edition. And it's good.
Okay.
It's
and
really good.
I won't show you who makes these.
No, show them.
Okay.
Mission. Who is
Are
it?
we allowed
Who
to
is
do
it?
that?
We can badmouth anybody we want.
Mission.
Yeah, they're the worst. I got some Mission ones once in a pinch.
I can't.
That had no bad ingredients. They didn't have any of the benzene and that kind of stuff. They still lasted for a month.
Oh, yeah?
They should not
I don't
last
think
for a
they
month.
ever go bad. I mean, I could leave them in the fridge forever. It's hard to read.
You want
Any
me to read
ingredients is so hard to read. I'm
You
just
want me
saying.
to read
Enriched bleached flour, which the bleaching process in itself.
So the bleach is chlorine.
Yeah.
Chlorine binds to iodine receptors in your thyroid, and it makes you dumb, fat, and sick. Literally causes hypothyroid from white flour or brominated wheat flour. All right, go ahead. What?
I mean, I should not even go on. I think that's just enough.
This is good though.
Okay, so then flour, niacin, reduced iron, thiamine, mononitrates, riboflavin, folic acid. I think that's part of the enriched bleach flour.
Yeah.
And then so water, vegetable shortening.
Wait, water.
Water!
That's good.
But where's the water coming from?
Basically,
And is it filtered?
Fluoridated water, which both disrupt the thyroid. All right,
There you go.
I thought we were
Vegetable shortening. And by the way, I have my door open out there, and I'm near the airport, so you might hear an airplane go by here and there. Vegetable shortening.
which is probably just corn oil.
Corn oil, probably. Yeah, I mean, do you ever hear about anything like, you know, green bean oil?
No, right?
Or vegetable oil is corn. I don't know. Interesterified. What the hell is that?
Interesterified. They add an ester group.
An ester?
Yeah.
Like estrogen?
No.
Ester like grandma?
Exactly. Grandma Esther. They ground her up into a powder.
Oh,
They
good
put little
Lord.
bits in there.
Okay, hydrogenated soybean oils
That
is
means
basically what that was.
Trans fats.
It contains 2% or less of
Nutrition.
salt, sugar. Yeah, right.
There's nothing.
Salt, sugar,
Uh-huh.
baking soda, sodium acid, pyrophosphate, distilled monoglycerides, fumaric acid. Fumaric acid?
Yeah.
Fumaric acid? What is that?
I believe that's from volcanoes.
Really?
I think that's right.
And calcium phosphate and sorbic acid to maintain freshness.
No benzene?
That's it!
What?
Yeah, it contains
Okay.
wheat if you're intolerant.
So, interesting. All right, so these
But
are...
still, there's a bunch of stuff in there that's
So
just...
these only partially mess up the thyroid. And it's just white flour, so it's sugar.
So good job, Mission. If you want to just go ahead and start making them healthier. I looked at some of the healthier versions of it, and I know the very first word is wheat.
Yeah, you
And
gotta,
I just-
you gotta go to the health food store.
Yeah, I know.
So if you get tortillas for that, so again, that's why we do with every patient we go through this kind of crash course of lifestyle changes. Like, here's all the food changes for your thyroid. Here's all the chemical changes for your thyroid. Here's all the hormonal exhaustion changes you got to make for your thyroid. You know.
If y'all were like with us a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the actual thyroid gland, we listed some foods and stuff, and iodine is one of them.
Right.
It's really important. Iodine comes from sea plants, seaweed, even salts, like the pink Himalayan salt and stuff like that.
If you use pink salt, you're feeding the iodine to the thyroid. If you put a little bit of kelp powder in all your soups and sauces and stews, it doesn't change the flavor. You're getting thyroid benefit from all that.
And so, did you all know that in part of the process of what we offer is to actually do an in-home pantry raid? So, at some point, if you're interested in, right? Am I going too far? At some point, that will be available.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can
pantry
come...
raid and yeah, go ahead.
He sounds like a panty raid.
I know.
If you have a sorority house,
No.
we are...
No.
If
So,
you have a fraternity
professional in-home
pantry
makeover.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's always interesting to do those. Like,
yeah,
going
it's
to
just
people's
like
houses.
it's just like those tortillas, you know. It's like
yeah, we'll start
they're
going through the
kind of
ingredients
okay.
and
They're
reading
kind of
them.
okay, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's nice because you find out solutions with all that kind of stuff.
And guess what I bought today?
What?
Brazil nuts.
Brazil nuts. Or as we like to call
And
them in
they're
Brazil, nuts.
Brazil nuts.
I don't know what they call it.
Nuts from Brazil.
One of our viewers is from Brazil.
Yeah, Yes, and speaking of viewers, Jessica says she switched her pantry to all glass. Congratulations,
What?
because that's not cheap.
Well, mason,
And-
you can get mason jars at the thrift stores. Pretty
That's true, but how do you know they're not lead-based?
What?
At the thrift stores. Sometimes they're made of lead, I think.
That's
like
lead
the
crystal.
old ones.
That's crystal.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I think because I used to get lead back when I
Back when I was a kid.
when I was in my 20s. I discovered a place called Tuesday Morning, and I had lead
They're out of
crystal
business.
glasses. Huh?
They went out of business. Tuesday
What?
Morning did. Yeah, I loved their stuff.
They're the place for people that go out of business to
They
sell,
sell
their
their
stuff.
stuff. I know. Well, there's no businesses
went out
that
of
have
business?
extras. You can't even find stuff in
God.
Target these days.
Dang it!
And so, let's see. Who do we have? Hey, Brittany. Welcome.
But it's bad. I got all those crystal glasses, but they leached lead into the. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so we'll talk about iron-rich foods, selenium-rich foods, iodine-rich foods, magnesium-rich foods. Those are all thyroid helpers.
Yep.
But still, I mean, all the plastics, the parabens, petroleum jelly, mineral oils, smoking.
Yeah, smoking's an easy one. I don't know if people smoke, but the vaping.
I don't know anybody that smokes really anymore.
I know. Just crack and heroin. That's it.
I don't even know them.
You smoke heroin? I don't think you smoke heroin.
And if they do, I don't know
They
it.
smoke heroin?
I don't think so.
I can watch more movies. So vaping though contains chemicals derived from benzene, which are estrogenic, and they actually interfere with the thyroid also. So no more vaping.
Vaping. Oh no. Is it any vaping? Like even if it's CBD oil vape?
No. It's
different.
artificial flavors and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then the vape solution typically is polyethylene glycol, if I remember right, or propylethylene glycol, which is antifreeze.
Which is also in like spray butters and stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty toxic stuff.
Well, actually, it's in a lot of stuff.
It is.
Read your ingredients. Anything that says polyethylene anything,
Yeah.
just put it back. Or just don't go to those aisles. I mean, there's so many aisles. Even the tin cans.
I know we did a few.
No.
Yeah, so tin cans. So with the estrogen, so BPA.
Okay. Yeah.
So aluminum is toxic. So they line all the cans. All the aluminum cans
Yeah.
are lined with plastic. So I posted the other day where they dissolve the aluminum, and then you just see a plastic bag and two aluminum sides, right? So that is horribly estrogenic. I mean, it causes behavior problems, dyslexia, learning disorders, according to Yale, and decreases brain growth, and then it causes heart attacks and strokes,
mood
and
disorders.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for protecting this, it messes up your thyroid too. So that's all canned goods, even the healthy stuff. Get all that stuff in glass as much as possible.
Or frozen. But what about the bags? Even the bags have something in it.
Well,
Frozen
I know the
foods.
frozen bags are BPA,
Yeah.
but at least they're frozen. So I mean, again, it's minimized.
Less penetration.
Better, best, optimal.
Right.
Anything in that direction. Start making
Right.
changes because eventually you're going to pay the price. But that's also beer cans, and all you White Claw girls with your minivan and your soccer kids and your White Clawing it, and then drunk texting and stuff. Those cans are lined with estrogen.
And that's why they're drunk texting.
That's right.
You know, really, it's just a matter of fresh food,
Yeah.
as much as possible.
Yeah, because even a research article, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So there is a research, because again, it's kind of easy to be like, well, we're all screwed, right? But a research article was published that said that you can reduce BPA, so that xenoestrogenic chemical, among all those things, but with BPA by 90% with just a few basic addition of fruits and vegetables. And so it doesn't take a whole lot to balance out your thyroid, but we are doing literally like this much damage to our thyroid. And we want to reduce it to that much. And then we want to go from this much healing to that much healing.
That's right.
And then you don't have to be perfect, and you can still have brain function, energy, mood. Like, there's a point, especially, the average age for hormonal exhaustion is 35 now. It's going to be lower than that soon, if not now. But very quickly, you're going to notice this giant separation that takes place. Here's all my friends, right? My friends don't want to go do shit because they're all exhausted and brain fogged out, and they're like, but I want to eat this way. It tastes so good.
And
then they're here, and I'm doing this, right? I'm like, all right, let's go mountain climbing. I broke my toe and still hiked 7 hours, right? And my friends, who were 10 years younger or something, or maybe, I don't know, they were younger, but they couldn't keep up. They were dying. And so, like, you know, when I'm in my 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, man, I'm going to be the dude that is firing on all cylinders, kicking ass. And everybody in their 30s on down are going to be like, I can't open a jar anymore. Like, they're on 12 medications, have 35 side effects. And, you know, like, there is this moment where you have to decide which direction, which you were talking about just a little bit ago that you read in the book. And that's probably our kind of like way of wrapping this up. I mean, we didn't get into, why does an hour go by so fast?
I know, we're already on an hour. Okay, so not only we'll go, you finish, and then we'll close with this. Okay, but we do have a choice, and we have to understand what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, every day with patients, every single day, we are changing lives because we're giving people hope in a hopeless world. Because most people don't know that your thyroid problems most likely would disappear if you'd go live in another country, right? These are American problems, American epidemics that we created. And the thyroid epidemic started in 1990. Before 1990, they were just little problems. 1990, boom, it went up like this. Like, we astronomically jacked everybody's thyroid up by what we were doing.
You know, it's interesting too because we should not just stop it at us. Like, so I have an 8-year-old, and so I asked him the other day, I said, have you been drinking milk at school? And I didn't tell him why I noticed. I actually could notice that he's been drinking milk at school because they're so full of hormones.
Yeah.
And so we actually had a conversation, and I've talked to him about it before, but I think he's old enough now that he's finally figuring it out. And I said, you know what? If you lived in Europe, you would not be drinking that kind of milk because their country does not allow them to do that.
Right. Yeah.
And so he came home and he said, the first thing he told me was, I didn't drink milk today because apparently at school now everything comes prepackaged.
Right.
And so it's in there whether they want to drink it or not. And so he told me, I didn't drink the milk today, Mom. I was like, right on, man.
Yeah.
Quit drinking the milk. I don't want to keep you from, tasting cool stuff, but we actually need to learn how to incorporate that into our young children's lives because they're the alpha generation. We're not Gen Z anymore. We're alpha. And they're going to be in charge, and they're going to be large, and we need to support them, educate them. So don't just stop at us. We have family members to take care of too.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
you're really good at that. I mean, you've been feeding your kids this healthy stuff. And they're, it's amazing. It's like my kid likes seaweed. That was when he was...
I know.
When he was 2.
Yeah.
There's a picture on Facebook. I'm handing him back a big old slice of seaweed in the car seat. That was his prize for getting in the car.
That's so funny.
And, he'd get so excited. He'd run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, the goal is mostly healthy.
Yes.
Because it's not perfect.
You
and
can't.
again,
You try. You do your best.
Everybody eats crap every now and then. And I notice, like, I probably eat a little bit worse when my girls are there because I kind of splurge on things a little bit. And so I'm not used to that. So I eat so clean, and then that little bit of change rocks my world. Absolutely. And I used to have hyperthyroid disease. So I used to be Graves' disease. And, like, that was a mess. Like, it really messes you up when your thyroid is messed up. But long before that, there were all these little things that were like, yeah, my doctor probably should have said something or did something, but they don't. They don't. They wait till it gets absolutely out of control, and then they're like, let's just cut it out, or let's medicate you. But there's so many other options out there for patients without drugs or surgery for balancing out thyroid.
Yes, absolutely. So if anybody has questions about coming to see Dr. Garrett, go ahead and post them on there, because if you feel like you have a thyroid issue, you need to come see him. He's got quite a bit of questionnaire that might help you define it a little bit more.
Yeah.
What I like to tell everybody is that when I first came to see you, it's like I got the questionnaire and it was like 18 pages long.
It's not that long?
So I told you a million times not to over exaggerate. So, but those are really important questions, because it's lifestyle, it's stress habits, it's emotions, it's it's lifestyle, all across the board.
Even looking at those genetic components from that research,
And genetics.
it's the things that affect those genetics are just lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Turn on, turn off. That's all it is.
And we need to know what those are.
Yeah.
So specifically guidelines that we can give you and all of that. So I just want to talk. I just want to read something out of this book. But
so I
we're
like
talking about living by the hormones of stress, and we certainly do that.
Yes.
Every day we live by the hormones of stress. So, in the neuroplasticity, we need to understand what we're doing with our lives, our lifestyle, what we're eating, what we're buying and putting in our homes, clothing, the whole 9 yards. That actually has an effect on how we deal with stress and how we create those neuro patterns in our brains. So, for example, if someone's been drinking a chemical their entire life, something's going to go wacky, and somewhere something's going to happen. But it's when you're in this stress mode, and you're in this stress mode for extended period of time, our brains become overly alert and aroused as we try to predict, control, and force outcomes in an effort to increase our chances of survival, which is basically everything we do.
Say those 3 things. I like that.
Predict, control, and force outcomes.
Yeah. How many of you guys have so many patients? That is the credence of their life.
Yes.
I need to be able to predict. I better be able to control everything.
Yep.
And what's the third one?
Force outcomes.
Force out, yeah. And that
really,
ain't going to happen.
And that's not going to happen. You know why? Because we've lived 30 years of our lives in memory retention, and we just cycle. We just keep cycling and cycling, and we have to stop that cycle, and stop predicting the future. Be here and now. Take care of what's now, and that way we can move forward with a whole brand new passionate life.
Yes.
A healthy, passionate life. We become clearer-headed. We become emotionally stable. All of those things that I could go on and on, but I won't, because we don't have that much time. But
basically, it's
really important.
You
to
can
live a good life.
You can live the hypothyroid life, or you can live over here with a normal thyroid life.
That's right.
Where you're just kind of like, life's pretty good.
Wake up.
Can't predict.
Nope.
Be in the now.
Be in the now.
Can't control what we can't control, so I'll just control what I do. And then I can't force outcomes. I can just do what I can do. And things are going to be chaotic. People are going to be a piece of shit. And I guess I'll just be happy and have a balanced thyroid, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
And so what our mission is to help many, many, many people have a balanced thyroid, so that at least we can have a few people on the planet that are balanced and stable.
If we could just help one person.
Just one.
One person. So, yeah, I love what I do, y'all. And we have just so many awesome case studies with patients over the years balancing out thyroids, and people that were told that they would never, ever recover. And even a few patients that were over-medicated and ended up with psych conditions because of the over-medication of the thyroid, which is pretty messed up.
Yes.
And it's a whole mess to try to clean up. But
so, in addition to that, we this will probably be, I might be going out on a limb here, but this will probably be our last or next to last episode, as we're going to do a professional version of it. So let us know what you think about what we've been doing the last, I don't know, 6-7 weeks, 8 weeks, and how we can incorporate some of that still if you want it. And what we want you to tell us, what do you want to know more about?
Yeah. So next month, so we have next week what we're going to do is hyperthyroid, not immune. And then next month we're going to try to transition over to more of a better quality program. So
not that this is not better quality or best quality, but we are going to put some format to the future shows.
We're going to go legit, I guess.
And we're really excited about that.
So then we'll have Dr. Kristen Lloyd on, and she specializes at the Genomic Wellness Group for reversing diabetes, type 2 and type 3, and then also for better regulating for type 1 diabetes, and then reversing more sustainable long-term weight loss solutions through the Genomic Wellness Group. So you guys can see her on, it's called the genomicwellnessgroup.com. She's on there. And very quickly they'll have some openings coming up. But we have lots of different specialists, and so I'm going to be consulting with that clinic, especially for reversing Crohn's, ulcerative colitis. But it's very exciting for that.
Very excited.
So
lots of really fun stuff going to be coming out of this too, and we're just super excited. I think I'm going to be working with Patrick and the wellness group at the same time. So so be sure to check out the .com, genomicwellnessgroup.com, and we'll be adding more to that as the months come.
Yep. And then
super excited.
drgarrett.tv or purifynourishheal.com is our clinic site still. So take a look at everything, and we have a couple new practitioners that are going on to the genomic wellness. And otherwise, thank you guys for joining us. If you know anybody with thyroid problems, send them my way. We can try to get them fixed up and create a more normal life for them.
Absolutely.
So, all right, you guys.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
And keep posting your questions.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.